Hello, very good evening and welcome to the news at 6, where we get you the day's top developing stories. Let's start with the headlines. 74 passengers injured after 10 coaches of the Delhi-bound Kafiyat Express derails near Auraiya in Uttar Pradesh. Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu offers to quit after Railway Board Chairman A.K. Mittal tenders resignation. Union Cabinet gives in principle approval for merger of state-owned banks. Panel of ministers chosen by the Prime Minister to examine consolidation plans submitted by PSU bank boards. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley formally announces the launch of the new 200 rupee note. Reserve Bank of India likely to circulate them by next month. Jaitley says government has no plans to phase out 2,000 notes at present. And crisis continues within the ruling AIDMK in Tamil Nadu. AIDMK supporters hold protests at a resort in Puducherry against 19 party MLAs who are opposing Chief Minister E. Palanisamy. Congress backs the DMK demand for trust vote. Top story this evening, taking moral responsibility for the recent rail accidents. Union Minister of Railways Suresh Prabhu on Wednesday offered to resign. In a series of tweets, Suresh Prabhu said that he takes full moral responsibility for the accidents and has met the Prime Minister Narendra Modi in this regard. Prabhu also said that he was extremely pained by the unfortunate accidents, injuries to passengers and loss of precious lives. Defending his tenure as Railway Minister, Prabhu said that he inherited an ailing system and tried to overcome 2 decades of neglect through systemic reforms. Earlier in the day, Railway Board Chairman A.K. Mittal also tendered his resignation to Suresh Prabhu. And these developments came hours after that second incident of a train derailment in a week. Several coaches of Delhi Azamgarh Kafiyat Express derailed near Auraiya in Uttar Pradesh early on Wednesday morning. 74 people were injured in the accident. Last Saturday, the Kalinga Utkal Express derailed in Khatoli in UP's Muzaffarnagar, killing 23 people.
74 passengers were injured after 10 coaches of the Delhi-bound Kafiyat Express derailed near Auraiya in Uttar Pradesh on Wednesday. The train was travelling from Azamgarh when it collided with a dumper at a crossing between Achalda and Pata villages at 2:40 a.m. The unauthorized dumper was carrying sand for work on the dedicated freight corridor when it overturned on a road parallel to the track. The impact of the accident made it break the railway fence and hit the train engine. Additional forces and NDRF teams were rushed to the spot from Lucknow, Auraiya, Etawah, and Kanauj. A medical train and a relief train were dispatched from Allahabad to assist the victims.
कॉरिडोर पे मिट्टी का काम ऐसे चल रहा है, लेकिन रात के 2 बजे 2:30 बजे जनरली कॉरिडोर पे कोई मिट्टी का काम होता नहीं है और अभी तक हमारी जानकारी के अनुसार से ये डीएफसी का कोई लिंक नहीं है इसके साथ। है बिल्कुल, ये जो हमारा डंपर ड्राइवर है, अब बताइए हमारी ट्रेन चल रही है, बगल में फेंसिंग है, उसको तोड़ के डंपर ड्राइवर अगर आ जाएगा रात में, बीच रात में है, तो उसकी पूरी लापरवाही है और डंपर ड्राइवर के मालिक और ड्राइवर दोनों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई होगी।
Following the accident, all passenger trains on the Kanpur-Tundla route were cancelled. Over 40 trains were diverted. The collision has also impacted train operations on the Delhi-Howrah route. This is the second rail accident within a week. 23 people were killed and 156 were injured after the Utkal Express derailed in Muzaffarnagar in Uttar Pradesh on Saturday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Finance Ministry on Wednesday formally announced the launch of the new 200 rupee note. The printing process of the new currency is almost over and the Reserve Bank of India is likely to circulate them by next month. Here are more details.
The Reserve Bank of India is set to introduce 200 rupee currency notes for the first time in history. The Finance Ministry specified the new 200 rupee currency notes in a Gazette notification on Wednesday. These notes are expected to help bridge the gap between 100 and 500 rupee currency notes.
ये इसकी जो पूरी प्रक्रिया है कि कब तक वो उसकी छपाई होगा, इसका संचालन आरबीआई देखेगा। और इसलिए उसकी डेट वगैरह भी आरबीआई के लिए ही बताना उचित होगा।
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Wednesday put at rest rumours of 2,000 rupee currency notes being phased out, saying that the government has no plan to do so.
2,000 रुपए के नोट का क्या होगा? क्या सरकार की कोई प्लानिंग है उसको बंद करने की या फेज आउट करने की? क्योंकि इसको लेकर बहुत
ऐसी कोई चर्चा नहीं सुनी।
This is the fourth new note to be announced since November, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced an overnight ban on 1,000 and 500 rupee currency notes. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now to Tamil Nadu, where the 6-month-old E. Palanisamy government continues to face uncertainty in the state as AIDMK Deputy General Secretary TTV Dinakaran today removed the Revenue Minister and several others from the party. On Tuesday, around 19 AIDMK MLAs withdrew their support from the merger. Meanwhile, Congress has also joined the DMK in demanding a floor test in view of the rebellion within the AIDMK.
The crisis within the ruling AIADMK remains unresolved in Tamil Nadu. AIADMK supporters on Wednesday held protests at the Windflower Resort in Puducherry, where 19 party MLAs who are opposing Chief Minister E. Palanisamy are staying. The protesters allege that the 19 MLAs are being forcibly detained by the AIADMK Deputy General Secretary TTV Dinakaran. These 19 MLAs had on Tuesday told Governor Vidyasagar Rao that they didn't support Palanisamy as Chief Minister.
These 19 MLA also voted that day to Honorable Chief Minister at a party to become a Chief Minister. But when they want to change in the government, why can't they call us? That is our question. And why they want to remove us? That is also another question.
6 months back it was Kovattur, now it is Pondicherry. So there is not much difference. They are afraid. That means that they don't have confidence in their own people. They have to keep them in a place safely. Otherwise, they feel that they may shift allegiance. That is the case of ADMK. When people
Meanwhile, Dinakaran removed several district functionaries and Revenue Minister R.B. Udyakumar from their party posts and appointed his supporters. In a related development, the Congress backed the opposition DMK's demand for a fresh trust vote in the assembly. This comes after DMK President M.K. Stalin asked Governor C. Vidyasagar Rao to hold a floor test.
The 19-20 MLAs withdrawing support means the present Chief Minister naturally has the majority. In that situation only, DMK leader Mr. Stalin and as a Congress Tamil Nadu President myself and my floor leader, Congress floor leader Mr. Ramasamy Hall, we have requested the Governor, His Excellency, to convene the Assembly and tell the Chief Minister to prove his majority in the floor of the House.
In the 234-member Assembly, the AIADMK has 134 members. The Dinakaran's faction claims the support of 19 MLAs, reducing the strength of the Palaniswamy government to 115, too short of the 117 members required for majority. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, Assembly by-polls were held on Wednesday in 4 seats in 3 states: Andhra Pradesh's Nandyal, Delhi's Bhawana and Goa's Valpoi and Panjim. Goa Chief Minister Manohar Parrikar is contesting the election from the Panjim constituency against Congress's candidate Girish Chodankar and Anand Shirodkar of Goa Suraksha Manch. Parrikar expressed confidence of winning by a huge margin.
And from our side, the voting will be very good. I don't know the others. I don't accept. From my side, we will get 98% of our voters out. 2% may not be able to do for some technical medical reasons.
Any opposition situation?
I don't see any opposition. As I say, that microscope or telescope order still has not come.
Meanwhile, in Andhra Pradesh, over 2.19 lakh voters exercised their franchise in the Nandyal Assembly constituency in Kurnool. People turned up in good numbers for the by-polls ahead of the general election due in 2019. The poll was necessitated after the death of sitting MLA Bhuma Nagi Reddy. The Telugu Desam Party has fielded the late leader's nephew, Brahmananda Reddy, while the YSR Congress has put a former minister, Shilpa Chandra Mohan Reddy. In Delhi, over 35% votes were polled till 3 p.m. in the Bhawana Assembly by-polls that witnessed a triangular contest among the Aam Aadmi Party, the BJP and Congress. With a few complaints of glitches in VVPAT machines at some booths, voting progressed smoothly. VVPAT machines are being used in all the 379 polling stations. Over 2.94 lakh electors exercised their franchise in the by-election for the reserved assembly seat. The by-poll was necessitated due to the resignation of Aam Aadmi Party MLA Ved Prakash after he joined the BJP ahead of the MCD polls. Prakash is now the BJP candidate. The counting of votes for the by-polls takes place on the 28th of August. The government today decided to set up an alternative mechanism to oversee the proposals for consolidation of public sector banks. The cabinet also approved a proposal for setting up of a commission to examine the sub-categorization of the other backward classes. Here are more details.
The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, gave its in-principle approval for the merger of state-owned banks. With this, the government seeks to consolidate 21 state-owned banks in the country. The proposal to merge will come from respective PSU bank boards, and the consolidation plans will be examined by a panel of ministers to be picked up by the Prime Minister himself. The consolidation plan follows a successful integration of State Bank of India with its 5 associate banks and the Bharatiya Mahila Bank.
The object is to create strong banks, and our experience of consolidation has been positive so far. It adds commercial strength, it prevents multiplicity of resources being spent in the same area.
The Cabinet also approved a proposal for setting up a commission under Article 340 of the Constitution to examine the issue of subcategorization of the other backward classes. The commission shall submit its report within 2 weeks from the date of appointment of the chairperson of the commission.
1992 में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी एक जजमेंट इस संबंध में दिया था, तो कहा था कि सब कैटेगराइजेशन किया जा सकता है। जब राज्यों ने किया था और कुछ रीट दायर हुई थी तो उसमें भी, और अभी 2015 में भी जो ओबीसी कमीशन था ईश्वरैया जी की अध्यक्षता वाला, उन्होंने भी रिकमेंड की थी, कोई आज नई बात नहीं है।
The Cabinet also approved the renaming of the new central sector scheme Sampada, Scheme for Agro-Marine Processing and Development of Agro-Processing Clusters, as Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana for the period of 2016-20. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, without a quick break here, we'll be back with more news in a bit. Stay with us.
When it comes to the procurement part, payment to the vendors, why is it such a messy affair?
There's no need to do kind of ad hoc procurement.
ICMR has not been making the right interventions when it comes to the patents, diagnostic tests.
We cannot, adopt bureaucratic procedures.
There are about 47,000 Indian doctors who are practicing in US and about 25,000 practicing in UK, which makes India the largest exporter of doctors in the world.
To expect a doctor after having gone through a lot of training, to really go and sit in a remote rural or tribal area, there may be a few doctors, yes, who are motivated to do that, but majority of times you will not find.
Watch To The Point with Director General of Indian Council in Medical Research, Soumya Swaminathan, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Gyan Chopper is the ancient version of Indian snakes and ladders. This intriguing game was popular among the old, the young, and the rulers as well. The chopper has its origin in the Jain philosophy. It tells the story of virtue, symbolized by the ladders, rewarded, while the vices shown by the snakes are punished. Each square, in turn, also narrates a message of wisdom.
Renowned economist Amartya Sen needs no introduction. Recipient of the Nobel Prize for Economics in 1998, Sen has always shown a keen interest in the problems of the underprivileged. He has made immense contributions to the discipline of welfare economics and social choice theory, and his books have been translated into more than 30 languages. In 2010, Amartya Sen was listed among the world's 50 most influential people who matter.
Welcome back. In more national news, Lieutenant Colonel Col Prasad Released, the prime accused in the 2008 Maligaon blast case, walked out of jail today after 9 long years. His release comes after the Supreme Court granted him interim bail on the 21st of August. He was received by army officers at the Taloja jail in Navi Mumbai today. 6 people were killed in the bomb blast on the 29th of September in 2008 at Maligaon, a communally sensitive textile town in Maharashtra's Nasik district. All legal formalities were completed, following which Colonel Purohit was released. Purohit on Tuesday had said that he wanted to rejoin the army as soon as possible. While granting bail to Colonel Purohit 2 days back, the Apex Court said that there were material contradictions in the charge sheets filed by the Anti-Terrorism Squad of Mumbai and the NIA, which are required to be tested at the time of trial, and it cannot pick or choose one version over the other. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Nepal Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba will hold their summit-level talks on Thursday. Both leaders are expected to resolve some of the issues troubling bilateral relations. Besides reviewing the entire relationship, the effort will also be to cement trade and economic ties in face of challenges coming in from China. The Nepalese Prime Minister is expected to apprise Modi of the political situation in his country, particularly on the steps being taken by his government to fulfill aspirations of the Indian origin Madhesi community. Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba arrived in Delhi on Wednesday along with a high-level delegation of ministers and top bureaucrats. He was received by External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj at the airport, symbolizing the importance of the visit. And here are more updates from across the country and nationwide. Karti Chidambaram appeared before the CBI in connection with a corruption case after being directed by the Supreme Court. Karti is being examined in a case alleging irregularities in a clearance granted by the Foreign Investment Promotion Board. A firm indirectly controlled by him is alleged to have received money from INX Media, run by Indrani and Peter Mukherjee. The Delhi High Court on Wednesday issued a notice to Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal seeking a reply on a fresh petition in connection with the ongoing criminal defamation case. Kejriwal has to respond within 4 weeks. Arun Jaitley has filed a 10 crore rupee defamation suit against Kejriwal and 5 other Aam Aadmi Party leaders. This is the second civil defamation case by Jaitley against Kejriwal in the Delhi High Court. Haryana and Punjab maintained maximum alert ahead of a court judgment in a sexual exploitation case against Dera Sacha Sauda head Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh on the 25th of August. There was heavy police and para-forces deployment near the routes leading to the district court complex in Panchkula, where the case will be heard. International news now, and US President Donald Trump today warned Pakistan that Washington will no longer tolerate Pakistan offering safe havens to terrorists. In a primetime televised address at a military base near Washington, President Trump said that he will no longer be silent about Pakistan's havens for terrorist organizations, and even declared outlining a new US security strategy in South Asia. He also added that Pakistan has much to gain from partnering with their effort in Afghanistan and has much to lose by continuing to harbor criminals and terrorists. Trump said that America is paying billions to Pakistan, which is providing shelter to the very terrorists that they are fighting against. Trump also warned Pakistan that they will have to change immediately.
We can no longer be silent about Pakistan's safe havens for terrorist organizations, the Taliban, and other groups that pose a threat to the region and beyond. Pakistan has much to gain from partnering with our effort in Afghanistan. It has much to lose by continuing to harbor criminals and terrorists.
Well, the US president also defended his response to the violence at a rally organized by white supremacists in Charlottesville in Virginia earlier this month. Trump criticized the media for the way they cover the violence in Charlottesville. He also accused it of ignoring his calls for unity in the aftermath. The US president told a crowd in Arizona that his words in the aftermath of the Virginia event were perfect. Trump was under fire for saying that both sides were to blame for the violence between white supremacists and left-wing counter-protesters in Virginia on the 12th of August.
And tonight, this entire arena is united in forceful condemnation of the thugs who perpetrate hatred and violence. But the very dishonest media, those people right up there with all the cameras. But the point is that those were three different. There were two statements and one news conference. The words were perfect. They only take out anything they can think of, and for the most part, all they do is complain. But they don't put on those words, and they don't put on me saying those words. The media can attack me, but where I draw the line is when they attack you, which is what they do.
Days after North Korea threatened to fire a salvo of missiles towards the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam, its leader, Kim Jong-un, ordered more production of rocket engines and intercontinental ballistic missile nose cones. The state media released pictures of Kim's visit to the Chemical Material Institute of the Academy of Defense Science, revealing major technological advances and ambitions of Pyongyang.
Not long after U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson appeared to make a peace overture to Pyongyang, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered the production of more solid-fuel rocket engines. State media showed Kim visiting the Chemical Material Institute of the Academy of Defense Science on Wednesday. It claimed he instructed the institute to produce more solid-fuel rocket engines and rocket warhead tips through further expanding engine production process and the production capacity of rocket warhead tips. North Korea has conducted 2 nuclear tests and dozens of missile test launches since the start of last year. But it test launched 2 ICBMs in July, prompting denouncement and international sanctions against its efforts to manufacture a nuclear-tipped warhead. The last missile test on the 28th of July put the US mainland in range, prompting heated exchanges that raised fears of a new conflict in the peninsula. The United States has conveyed to North Korea that while the path to dialogue is still an option, Washington remains undeterred in defending any threat to its territory.
While the path to dialogue still remains an option, the United States remains undeterred in defending against the threat North Korea poses. My President's top priority remains protecting the homeland, U.S. territories, and our allies against North Korean aggression. We remain prepared to use the full range of capabilities at our disposal against the growing threat from North Korea.
However, despite multiple sanctions, North Korea says it's never going to surrender nuclear arms.
There are several nuclear weapon states in the world, but the U.S. is the only country that poses constant nuclear threat upon the DPRK. The measures taken by the DPRK to strengthen its nuclear deterrence and develop intercontinental rocket is justifiable and legitimate option for self-defense in the face of such apparent and real threat.
Amid weeks of heightened tension on the Korean peninsula, South Korea and the United States are conducting annual joint drills involving computer simulations of a possible war. On Wednesday, South Korea also staged a 20-minute-long nationwide civil defense drill, which was also broadcast live for the first time in 2 years to raise public awareness. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
A powerful typhoon struck the coast of China on Wednesday, bringing massive winds and flooding to the cities of Macau and Hong Kong. At least 3 people were killed in Macau when Typhoon Haito hit the city. The 13th typhoon this year, Haito made landfall on Wednesday afternoon in Zhuhai City in Guangdong province of South China. It brought huge tides that flooded coastal highways, affecting road and rail services. More than 100 flights were cancelled at the Zhuhai airport. This is the strongest typhoon to hit China so far this year, with the maximum wind speed reaching 45 meters per second. Thousands of people were evacuated from parts of the mainland coast before the storm's arrival. The typhoon also battered Hong Kong with sustained winds of 165 kilometers per hour and gusts up to 192 kilometers per hour. Destructive winds uprooted trees and forced most businesses to close. Many skyscrapers remained in darkness due to power failure. Trading in Hong Kong's financial markets was also halted for the day. 420 flights to and from Hong Kong had to be cancelled. And that's what we have for you on the news at 6. Thanks so much for joining us.